Peace. Peace begins here, not there. Peace begins with how I feel myself. Here, not there. There are so many ways, ancient ways, Tibetan ways, Chinese ways, Indian ways, African ways, so many ways of being peaceful. Continuum has a way also. Our way of being peaceful is to feel connected to the living swell of all life, whether it's a lizard, whether it's a rabbit, whether it's a snake, whether it's a fish, whether it's a cell. We feel connected, and when we feel connected, we are at peace. In Continuum, one of the ways that we see what's going on with us is primarily not only how we move, but how we breathe, and what is going on in our breath. I want to show you a very simple way of engaging with breath that can bring us into the embrace of life. So much of what we see in our world is not that. The disregard of life. So that within each of us, other species have lived and contributed. Every part of our bodies has been flourished by other species. So when we do a continuum offering, we're offering ourselves to the world of life. So basically, breath ideally should be a wave. The Greeks' interpretation of breath, their definition of breath, is pneuma, spirit. So they speak of the spirit of breath that moves like a wave. So when we begin, and I'm going to lie down in a moment, and I'm going to just show you a very simple way of beginning to call to all the life that has contributed to our being here now. All of the ancient ones, pre-human, subhuman, human, all of it. We look at tissue in our work. We look at the choreography of fluid as it moves through our tissue. And that wave motion is a wave that goes out to the universe and comes back. I'm at peace. I listen. I move. I pray. All of it is one thing. When I lie down, I'm going to do a very simple thing. I'm using just a very simple hum sound, just a humming. And the reason for that is that vibration is the universal tone. And what I'm going to do is I'm taking my hands and I'm starting with my hands down around my navel. And with my elbows bent, I'm going to go as far as I can to an angle, and I'm using my elbow like a wing and a fin. And I'm just going as far as I can with a hum, And I keep going. And I keep reaching with my elbow, which is a wing and a fin. And I'm bringing myself to over my head. And I keep going. And then when I reach the other side, I do the same thing, going down. So my elbows are slanted at an angle, and I keep reaching. So the wing and fin of my ancestors can come into this prayer of peace that we are doing. And I bring my wings and fins down. To my navel. And then very slowly I open my now arms that have the wings and fins in them. And I see what the prayer of my breath will be. Peace. So I'm going to lie down and do this now. And it's very simple. I'm just using a hum. And I'm doing exactly what I just said. This. In Continuum, before we do anything, we take a baseline. And what that means is we're taking a measure of how much of my body is being received into the floor. How much of my breath is slowing down or speeding up? Where is my breath? And by doing that, I can feel what the level of my receptivity is. The more I feel myself into the floor, the slower my breath becomes, the deeper my breath becomes, the more receptive my system is. And so the baseline becomes an important factor in how we begin to explore, beginning with a baseline, and we end with a baseline. Very slowly, as I'm lying on the floor, I'm thinking about bringing my hands up. And as my fingers wrap around my wrist, I bring my hands down to my navel. And with the hum, I very slowly am bringing my arms up. And I'm guiding my elbow, as you can see, along the edge of the floor. And my elbows are at an angle. And so my upper elbow is acting like a micro traction. And what it's doing, it's helping my shoulder girdle to become more dexterous. It's affecting my shoulder blades. The wings of my body are being initiated. The moment that you have a bent elbow, you have a fin wing effect. And so the ancient majesty of swimming and soaring through the air are being remembered in this moment. And when I say remembered, I mean as in extremities, to remember. When I bring my arms over my head, I'm elongating from the sides of my body. So there's a moment of elongation and an opening of my armpit. And again, my elbows are acting like micro-traction. And this is a wonderful move for the shoulders, the upper thoracic spine. And when I begin the journey down, again, I'm tracing my elbow along the mat.
And as you can see from this angle of the camera, there's a rotation of my shoulder, and there's a engaging of my shoulder blade. And as I bring my arm down, the tissues of my chest, which you can't actually see at the moment, but they are being awakened from this really very simple movement. So as you can see, I'm going very, very slowly. And the sound actually helps to slow me down. So there you see the rotation of my shoulder. And any movement of the arm, wing, fin, opens the chest and heart center. So here, as my arms are coming down, my head is gently moving back, and I begin the second part of this journey with my hands again at the navel. And I continue the hum until my hands move from the navel. So here, there is something very interesting that happens at the navel area. There's a kind of ball of energy that the Tai Chi people will refer to as a ball of chi. And it's very tangible. You can feel it. It's this energetic fullness that guides my hands and arms and opens it up. So there is something very tangible that I am actually feeling here. And this in itself is just so exquisite a feeling. When my arms eventually settle down, I bring the movement of a wing in by the gentle rocking of my elbows. As you can see, all it is just rocking forward and back. That's all. But what it's doing, it's loosening up my shoulders, and it is signaling the tissue around my heart. So this very gentle wing-like movement is permeating through all my tissue with this message of soaring. So restful. And eventually, my arms come down. And at this moment, I go into open attention for another baseline. And when I say open attention, I mean I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just receptive. And so from the sounding, from the wave motion of the arms, the tissues of my torso begin to undulate their appreciation. And so you'll see that my head is being guided back, and it's being guided back by the movement in my chest, right at the heart. There's a really interesting thing in the animal kingdom when the head is being brought back like that. In the animal kingdom, it is the movement of complete surrender. And we see this, my favorite sculpture of Saint Teresa of Avila, Bernini's beautiful sculpture of her in prayer with her head thrown back. It's worth a trip to Rome just to see that. So in a sense, this wave that's moving through my system at this moment is a wave of prayer, a prayer for peace, a prayer for wholeness, a prayer for humanity, a prayer for existence.